Nobody tells you that wisdom comes with a wound. You spend years chasing answers. Why did she pull away? Why did your effort push her further? Why did love feel like punishment instead of peace? Then one day the answers arrive, and you realize you were happier when you were confused. Here's the thing about understanding women. It doesn't set you free. It strips you bare. Every comfortable lie you told yourself gets dragged into the light. Every fantasy you built your hope on crumbles to dust beneath your feet. Most men walk through life believing a simple equation. Good behavior equals good outcomes. Loyalty earns loyalty. Patience gets rewarded. Sacrifice proves worth. These beliefs feel noble. They feel true. They feel like the foundation of something real. Understanding demolishes that foundation overnight. You start seeing mechanics where you once saw magic. You notice patterns where you once saw promises. The mystery that made her fascinating becomes a sequence you can almost predict. And prediction kills wonder the way morning kills dreams. At first this knowledge feels like armor. Finally you understand why consistency bred contempt. Why availability killed attraction. Why being safe meant being overlooked. Everything clicks into place. The past makes sense for the first time. But sense comes expensive. Because now you see that her distance was never about your flaws. Her coldness was never punishment for your mistakes. These were weather patterns passing through her. Emotional seasons that changed without warning or reason. You were standing in rain wondering what you did to cause the clouds. Nothing. You caused nothing. And somehow that hurts worse than blame. When you truly absorb this truth, something shifts in your chest. You realize that feeling governs everything. Not commitment. Not history. Not the words spoken in vulnerable moments. Feeling. Raw and ungovernable and completely beyond logic. She can love you completely today. She can mean every syllable she whispers against your skin. And tomorrow something inside her can shift like wind changing direction. No malice required. No decision made. Just emotional weather doing what emotional weather does. Try trusting completely after you know this. Try surrendering fully when you understand how quickly fullness empties. You start guarding yourself. Not because you want walls between you. Because you remember what happened when you had none. The wounds taught you what words never could. Openness without awareness is just invitation to bleed. The fantasy of unconditional love starts looking childish. You see how attraction requires polarity. How respect requires strength. How desire requires distance. Conditions everywhere. Invisible contracts written in emotion instead of ink. She doesn't love you. She loves how you make her feel. And when that feeling fades, the love fades with it. Not cruelty. Just mechanics. Just the way human hearts actually function beneath all the poetry we drape over them. Once you see this, you can never unsee it. Innocence doesn't return. The door locks behind you. The past isn't as permanent as you thought it was. You assume shared history means shared understanding. You believe that what happened between you exists as solid fact. Unchangeable. Agreed upon. Safe in memory where nothing can touch it. You're wrong. Watch what happens when her feelings shift. The story shifts with them. Those late nights you spent listening become pressure you applied. The stability you provided becomes a cage you built. Your patience transforms into weakness she tolerated. Your love gets rewritten as control she escaped. She's not lying. That's the part that breaks you. She genuinely believes this new version. Her mind reconstructs the past to match her present feelings. Emotional coherence matters more than factual accuracy. The heart rewrites history and calls it truth. Once you witness this happen, everything changes. You realize that years of presence can be erased in a single internal conversation. Memories you treasured become evidence against you. Moments you thought meant everything become nothing at all. How do you build a future with someone whose past keeps changing? You stop trusting words the way you used to. You start watching hands instead of listening to mouths. Behavior becomes your only reliable witness. Actions testify where promises stay silent. Another truth lands hard around this time. Attraction doesn't care about your character. It doesn't measure your kindness or weigh your sacrifices. Attraction responds to something primal. Strength without apology. Direction without hesitation. Presence without desperation. Confidence that doesn't ask permission. Being good means nothing to desire. Being desired requires something else entirely. This contradiction tears men apart. You were taught that virtue earns love, that treating her right guarantees being treated right, that the good guy wins in the end. The good guy often finishes alone, wondering what he did wrong, never realizing that wrong wasn't the problem. You did everything right by the wrong rules. When you finally accept this, your approach changes completely. You stop trying to earn what cannot be earned through effort. You stop performing kindness hoping for reward. You become good because that's who you are, not because it purchases anything. Love stops being transaction, and somehow that makes it lonelier. The idealization you once felt starts dying. You remember when just seeing her made everything brighter. When her voice was music and her presence was home. That feeling came from projection. From dreams you painted onto her skin. From futures you imagined without evidence. Now you see her clearly. Human. Flawed. Governed by feelings she barely understands herself. The goddess was always just a woman. Beautiful still. But mortal now. Loving without idealization takes conscious effort. You choose rather than fall. You decide rather than dissolve. Every day becomes a question instead of an answer. The romance of surrender dies here. What replaces it is something more honest, less thrilling, more sustainable. You hope sustainable is enough. Surrender stopped being romantic the day I realized what it actually cost. You used to give everything without counting. Pour yourself out like water expecting the river to refill you. Hold nothing back because holding back felt like betrayal of love itself. Total devotion seemed like the highest offering a man could make. Then you learned what total devotion actually creates. The more you gave, the less she wanted. Your availability became her burden. Your consistency became her boredom. That endless openness you thought proved love actually drained the mystery that sparked attraction. You loved her into indifference without knowing what you were doing. Now you measure what you offer. Not from stinginess. From painful education. You pace yourself because you've seen what flooding does. It drowns the very thing you're trying to keep alive. This feels like strategy. You hate that it feels like strategy. Love should be free and wild and unconditional. But unconditional love without wisdom becomes a weapon turned against yourself. She can say something today and mean it completely. Feel it in her bones. Swear it on everything sacred. Tomorrow arrives and that certainty dissolves like morning fog. She didn't lie. She experienced truth that expired. Emotional truth has a shelf life nobody talks about. This removes villains from your story. No one betrayed you. No one schemed against your heart. Something simply shifted inside her and reality rearranged itself around that shift. Intentions meant nothing against the tide of feeling. Knowing this offers no comfort. If anything, it makes everything harder. You can't protect yourself against enemies who don't exist. You can't outwork feelings that don't follow logic. You can't build walls high enough to keep out weather. So you adapt. You develop emotional awareness like radar. You notice small changes before they become earthquakes. You feel the temperature drop before the freeze sets in. This vigilance keeps you safer, but it never lets you rest. Love becomes something you monitor instead of something you melt into. Another lesson carves itself into you around this time. Connection depends on contrast. She responds to polarity like plants respond to light. The push and pull creates energy. Too much closeness collapses the space where desire lives. You learn to create distance even when you want closeness. You learn to hold back even when you want to pour forward. This restraint feels like dishonesty sometimes. But honesty without calibration destroyed previous relationships. Some truths work better when released slowly. You start valuing what survives over what thrills. Stability over intensity. Rhythm over chaos. The highs don't hit as high anymore. But the lows don't break you either. You're managing now. Managing yourself. Managing space. Managing expression. Managing hope. This isn't what you imagine love would feel like. But imagination got you destroyed. Reality keeps you intact. You choose intact. Even when intact feels lonely. I stopped being angry the day I started being awake. Anger requires a target. Someone to blame. Someone who wronged you deliberately. Someone who chose betrayal when loyalty was possible. Anger needs villains to sustain itself. Understanding removed every villain from my story. What replaced anger was something quieter, harder to name. A settling of vision that revealed patterns instead of perpetrators, systems instead of schemes, nature instead of malice. Nobody was plotting against me. The game simply had rules nobody taught me. Now I know the rules, and knowing changes everything. You become slower when awareness arrives, slower to commit, slower to trust, slower to place hope where evidence hasn't earned it. Speed used to feel like passion. Now speed feels like blindness wearing enthusiasm as a mask. Chemistry appears and you pause instead of chase. Connection sparks and you observe instead of ignite. Something in you learned that fire without foundation just burns faster, leaves ashes quicker, destroys more completely. Patience becomes your filter. Most people cannot survive patience. There's a maturity that settles heavy on your shoulders when you stop fighting what she is. You release the fantasy version, the projection you built from longing and hope. You see the actual woman standing there, emotional, contradictory, governed by feelings she sometimes cannot explain. This isn't disappointment. It's accuracy. Accuracy just happens to weigh more than dreams. You adjust your expectations like a man adjusting his eyes to darkness, not lowering them, calibrating them, learning what's realistic to ask from a human heart, learning what was always too much to demand. Resentment loses its grip when expectations fit reality. You stop being angry at rain for being wet. You stop being angry at wind for blowing. You accept the nature of things and work within it. This acceptance looks like defeat to those still fighting. They see you step back and assume you lost your fire. They watch you pause and assume you've grown cold. They don't understand that this isn't surrender. This is evolution. The paradox clarifies itself now. Understanding makes reckless love impossible, but it makes conscious love available. Reckless felt better at the start. Conscious survives longer through the middle and end. One trades intensity for longevity, flame for warmth, explosion for glow. Every man reaches this fork eventually. Some choose the old way, the way that felt like flying until it felt like falling, the way that burned bright until it burned out. Others choose differently. They walk the slower path, the one that demands more patience and delivers less drama, the one that builds something time cannot easily destroy. Neither choice is wrong. Both carry cost. You just have to decide which cost you're willing to carry. The weight of shattered fantasy, or the weight of sustained truth. I made my choice. It wasn't easy, but it lets me sleep now. She stopped looking at me the way she used to, and I finally understood why. There was a light in her eyes once, a softness when she watched me move through a room, an attention that made me feel like the only solid thing in her liquid world. I thought that light was permanent. I thought love kept flames burning by itself. I was wrong about everything. Admiration feeds attraction the way oxygen feeds fire. Remove it and everything suffocates slowly. The romance survives on respect. The desire survives on a version of you she still looks up to. When that pedestal cracks, the whole structure wobbles. And pedestals crack easier than any man wants to believe. You lose yourself for a moment. You show weakness without strength surrounding it. You become too available, too predictable, too safe. The mystery that drew her evaporates like water under hot sun. What remains is familiar, comfortable. That comfort kills more relationships than conflict ever could. I learned this through loss, through watching that light dim month after month, through feeling her attention drift toward corners of rooms I didn't occupy. She never announced the change. It simply happened like seasons shifting without permission. By the time I noticed, the winter had already arrived. Now I protect what keeps admiration alive. Not through performance, through genuine maintenance of self, direction, purpose. The refusal to abandon my own path for the sake of constant closeness. This feels selfish sometimes. But selflessness built the graveyard where past relationships rest. Another brutal lesson reveals itself here. Comparison never stops. She exists in a world of endless alternatives. Attention arrives from directions you cannot monitor. Validation appears in forms you cannot compete with. Your relationship isn't sealed in a vacuum. It breathes the same air as everything else. External forces press against what you're building. Social media whispers. Coworkers flatter. Old flames resurface with perfect timing. You cannot control any of it. You can only remain the man worth choosing when choices multiply. That pressure never fully releases. You also witness something disturbing about endings. Many relationships die without arguments, without dramatic confrontations, without thrown dishes or slammed doors. They die through quiet reinterpretation. Your dedication becomes her suffocation. Your presence becomes her cage. Everything you gave gets translated into something darker, something you never intended, something that justifies her departure without making her the villain. The exit rewrites the entrance, and you stand there holding memories that no longer match hers. This isn't cruelty. This is self-protection wearing the mask of honesty. Her mind needs coherence. Leaving someone good creates cognitive dissonance. So the mind makes you less good. Retroactively. Silently. Completely. You loved a woman who may someday remember a different man than who you actually were. That knowledge changes how you hold every moment now. Loosely. With open hands. Because closed fists cannot hold what insists on leaving anyway. I learned to listen to what she did instead of what she said. The silence was deafening. Words used to mean everything. Promises felt like contracts signed in blood. When she said forever, I heard forever. When she said only you, I believed only me. Language was the bridge between her heart and mine. Then I watched words dissolve like sugar in rain. Statements made with absolute conviction reversed within weeks. Commitments spoken with tears in her eyes evaporated without ceremony. The vocabulary of love became unreliable. Beautiful sounds without guaranteed substance beneath them. So I stopped listening with my ears. I started watching with my eyes. Behavior tells truth when mouths tell stories. Consistency reveals character when words reveal only intention. What she does when choosing is hard matters. What she does when no one applauds matters. Everything else is decoration. This shift changes how you experience conversation completely. You hear her speak and simultaneously watch her patterns. You note what follows through and what falls away. You build understanding from evidence rather than emotion. Less romantic. Far more accurate. Around this time, another illusion breaks apart. You realize love was never meant to save you. Not from loneliness. Not from emptiness. Not from the void that lives where purpose should be. So many men place relationship at the center and wonder why everything collapses. They ask love to carry weight it was never designed to hold. They seek completion through connection and find themselves more fractured than before. Love cannot fix what was broken before love arrived. You must arrive whole, stable in yourself, grounded in meaning that exists independent of any woman. Then love becomes addition rather than foundation, complement rather than core. This restructuring takes time. It requires building yourself into something that doesn't need rescue. Something that stands alone and invites company rather than requiring it. When you stop needing love, something strange happens. You become capable of offering it cleanly, without desperation hidden inside affection, without fear dressed as devotion, without attachment masquerading as commitment. Detachment gets confused with coldness by those who haven't reached this place. They don't understand that detachment isn't absence of feeling. It's absence of unhealthy need. The desperate need that turns love into prison for both people trapped inside. You feel deeply still. Maybe more deeply because clarity amplifies rather than numbs. But feelings no longer steer the ship. They ride as passengers while wisdom holds the wheel. This balance takes years to find. Many men never find it at all. The world keeps selling intoxication. Obsession packaged as romance. Codependency dressed in wedding clothes. The cultural message says lose yourself in love. I lost myself before. I remember what that darkness tasted like. Never again becomes a quiet promise you make to the mirror. Clarity costs you the high. But the high always cost more. I used to fear being alone. Now I fear losing my peace. Solitude was the enemy once. Empty rooms felt like punishment. Quiet nights stretched into eternities of aching. I chased connection like oxygen because being alone meant being incomplete. Then something shifted deep inside my chest. Peace arrived uninvited one ordinary afternoon. No fanfare. No revelation. Just sudden awareness that silence had stopped hurting. The ache for company had dissolved into something softer. Solitude transformed from prison into sanctuary without my permission. Now I guard that sanctuary carefully. Relationships cost something. Not money. Not time. Something harder to name. Emotional bandwidth. Mental space. The constant calibration required to navigate another person's weather patterns. You never notice this cost until you stop paying it. When peace settles into your bones, connection becomes optional. Not unwanted. Just unnecessary for survival. You can desire companionship without requiring it. You can appreciate presence without depending on it. This terrifies people who still believe love completes them. Understanding sharpens your filters ruthlessly now. Surface attraction stops mattering. Chemistry loses its authority. You start evaluating connections by a different metric entirely. Does this person add clarity or static? Does their presence expand your world or contract it? Some connections feel like opening windows. Fresh air enters. Vision extends. Everything becomes slightly more possible than before. Others feel like closing doors. Walls press inward. Options shrink. You become a smaller version of yourself without understanding why. You learn to trust that distinction immediately. No second guessing. No benefit of doubt extended past its usefulness. Hope takes new shape around this time. Men used to call it romantic hope. Belief that effort would stabilize shaky ground. Faith that patience would transform inconsistency. Trust that understanding would prevent inevitable loss. That hope was fantasy wearing practical clothes. Real hope looks different now. It expects nothing from external sources. It builds internally. It says, I will be fine regardless. Not I will make this work despite evidence. Acceptance replaces wishful thinking. You start responding to patterns instead of potential. What she shows you matters. What she might become stops mattering. The woman standing before you is the woman standing before you. Not the projection. Not the possibility. This removes so much wasted energy. Years spent watering dead gardens. Decades lost to potential that never actualized. You cannot love someone into being who they're not. Your emotional reactions slow noticeably now. Distance appears and you observe it. Silence arrives and you let it breathe. Nothing requires immediate response anymore. The space between stimulus and reaction becomes your home. Wisdom lives there quietly. Rushing brought nothing but wreckage before. Stillness brings information now. You wait. You watch. You allow revelation to arrive on its own schedule. Patience stopped feeling passive. Patience became power held in reserve. I don't fall anymore. I step. Deliberately. With my eyes wide open. Falling used to feel like magic. That surrender into another person. That release of control. That willingness to let gravity pull you toward wherever love wanted to take you. It felt like courage. It was blindness dressed in beautiful clothes. Falling requires ignorance. You must not see the patterns. You must ignore the warning signs. You must silence the voice inside that whispers slow down. Falling demands unconsciousness to sustain itself. Consciousness ruined falling forever. Now movement toward love happens differently. One step. Then pause. Then observation. Then another step if evidence supports it. The process looks cautious from outside. Inside it feels responsible. I trusted recklessly before. Gave access to my peace without background checks. Invited chaos into my sanctuary because chaos brought excitement along with it. Excitement was enough reason back then. Excitement means nothing now. Excitement fades before the first anniversary. What remains after excitement determines everything. Character reveals itself under pressure. Consistency emerges only through time. Loyalty proves itself when testing arrives unannounced. These qualities move slowly. You cannot see them in candlelight over dinner. They emerge through seasons of ordinary days. Patience becomes your greatest ally here. Most connections cannot survive patience. They require speed to obscure their emptiness. They need momentum to prevent examination. When you slow down, the unworthy eliminate themselves. No confrontation necessary. Just time doing its quiet work. Something else crystallizes at this stage. What broke you before wasn't her actions. It was your expectations. You expected love to provide safety it cannot guarantee. You expected loyalty to operate like law when it operates like weather. You expected feelings declared permanently to remain permanent. Expectations shattered you, not betrayal. Now you love without expectation. You appreciate without assuming tomorrow. You enjoy presence without projecting futures. This sounds sad to those still dreaming. It feels free to those who woke. Men who reach this level seem different to outside observers. Calmer than seems appropriate. Less reactive than passion should allow. Almost detached in moments when attachment seems natural. They are not detached. They are anchored differently. The anchor used to drop into her. Her approval held your ship steady. Her affection determined your direction. When she drifted, you drifted with her. Now the anchor drops into yourself. You hold yourself steady. Your direction remains yours regardless of her movements. She can come close or pull away without capsizing anything. This is not coldness. This is survival evolved into strength. There is grief here though. For the version of you that believed without evidence. For the innocence that trusted without experience. For the man who fell knowing falling might kill him and judged the risk worthwhile. That man is gone now. Someone more durable stands where he once stood. The new man doesn't fall. He chooses. Every single time. I didn't become cold. I became clear. And clarity is a different kind of warmth. People confuse understanding with bitterness. They watch you pause before committing and assume wounds made you hesitant. They see you protect your peace and assume heartbreak made you selfish. They witness your standards and assume disappointment made you demanding. They misread everything about this transformation. Understanding didn't close my heart. It opened my eyes. The heart still beats, still feels, still yearns for genuine connection. But the eyes stay open now, watching, measuring, refusing to participate in beautiful destruction again. Love didn't become impossible through awareness. It became specific, narrower in scope, reserved for those who demonstrate worthiness through time and testing. Not everyone deserves access to the softest parts of you. That's not cynicism. That's mathematics. Truth sits higher than romance now. Peace outranks passion. Self-respect refuses negotiation for any reason. These priorities rearrange themselves through experience, through loss, through rebuilding what should never have fallen apart. When you survive destruction caused by misplaced trust, something permanent changes. You stop giving second chances to patterns. You stop explaining boundaries to those who pretend confusion. You let behavior determine proximity without debate. Silence becomes your response to manipulation. Distance becomes your answer to chaos. Walking away becomes easier than explaining why you deserve more. The man who understands stops performing. No more proving devotion through exhaustion. No more demonstrating love through sacrifice. No more earning worthiness through endless patience. You simply exist as you are. Those who appreciate that stay. Those who require performance leave. Both outcomes become acceptable. There's freedom in releasing the need to be chosen universally. Not everyone will understand your value. Not everyone should. Compatibility is rare because depth is rare. Emotional maturity remains uncommon regardless of age. You stop chasing the masses. You wait for the exception. Waiting feels lonely some nights. The phone stays silent. The bed stays empty. The future stays uncertain. But uncertainty beats guaranteed chaos. Every single time. When someone finally matches your standards, the experience differs completely from past connections. No desperation pollutes the affection. No fear hides beneath the vulnerability. No projection paints her into someone she never claimed to be. You see her clearly because your eyes work properly now. She sees you clearly because you've stopped performing versions of yourself. Two whole people choosing each other. Not two broken people needing repair. This is what understanding actually offers. Not loneliness. Not isolation. Not permanent solitude. It offers the possibility of real love. Love between adults. Love without savior complexes or rescue fantasies. Love that doesn't require losing yourself to prove it exists. The journey here cost everything false. What remains is everything true. Not intoxication. Something better. Substance. The man who walks this path doesn't stop loving. He finally starts loving correctly. Without illusion. Without desperation. Without apology. Just truth wrapped in tenderness. That combination was always worth the wait. That combination was always worth the wait. If these words reached somewhere deep inside you, then you're not alone on this journey. More conversations like this are coming. Stories that speak what most men feel but never say aloud. Truths that cost something to learn and everything to ignore. Hit subscribe. Join the men who chose clarity over chaos. The next chapter of understanding starts here.